Deep breaths. A group of male psychoanalysts proposed that masochistic personality disorder be added to the canon, the DSM. This hypothetical diagnosis applied to anyone who remains in relationships in which others exploit, abuse, or take advantage of him or her, despite opportunities to alter the situation. I'm Jaime, I'm a licensed therapist, and we're apparently about to launch into a series called The Dark History of Mental Health, What Nobody Wants to Talk About. I was finishing up research for my book, Toxic Relationship Recovery, and what I found was this amazing book by this amazing woman and psychiatrist, Judith Herman. Her book's called Trauma and Recovery, and when I tell you, if you have experienced trauma, go get this book. I have been immersed into it, and I need to share some of this stuff with you. She's the person who brought the world CPTSD. Let's continue. In a recent study of emergency room practice in a large urban hospital, clinicians routinely described battered women as hysterics, masochistic females, hypochondriacs, or more simply, crocs. She wrote this book in '92, and I've worked as a mental health therapist on an inpatient unit, and I wish I could tell you things have changed, but they haven't. Let's keep going. This tendency to misdiagnose victims was at the heart of a controversy that arose in the mid-1980s when the diagnostic manual, the DSM, came up for revision. And this is when a group of male psychoanalysts proposed masochistic personality disorder. So to summarize some of the work that Judith did is, of course, a lot of women's group came out and heard about this and was like, absolutely not, absolutely not. And Judith was a part of some of this movement. And I'm summarizing here, but for the first time in the mid-1980s, right around the time I was born, women were being allowed in the room during these DSM meetings. And this is what Judith had to say about this. What struck me the most at the time was how little rational argument seemed to matter. The women's representatives came to the discussion prepared with carefully reasoned, extensively documented position papers, which argued that the proposed diagnostic concept had little scientific foundation, ignored recent advances in understanding the psychology of victimization, and was socially regressive and discriminatory in impact, since it would be used to stigmatize disempowered people. The men of the psychiatric establishment persisted in their bland denial. They admitted freely that they were ignorant of the extent of literature on the past decade of psychological trauma, but they did not see why it should concern them. One of the board members said the discussion of battered women was irrelevant. Stay with me, we're just getting started.